So I made several videos on this channel about stuff that's going on right across the border in Indiana, man. I consider Northwest Indiana all part of the same city, or at least the same metropolitan area, but we're reaching a little bit farther in this video, okay, all the way down to Bloomington, Indiana, man, because there was something down there that just I consider historic. And what this was that there was the first black student ever to receive a PhD in mathematics from Indiana University down over there, and I'm going to become the first white person in history to talk about the first black person in history. So let's make history, guys. All right. Now, this is something that was related to something I was speaking about 2 videos ago, man. And I admit that this guy is extraordinarily intelligent, obviously, and not everybody, such as guys like myself, do not probably have the ability to do what this guy did. A PhD in math is a high level achievement. That's not something that everybody can do. But he made a lot of smart choices, man, and his parents too. You can tell made a lot of smart choices because even from the days before he entered university, they were already making some smart decisions, for him. So he started off in high school being homeschooled. Okay, now that's a very good decision, and I'm going to say this as somebody who's worked in the Chicago public high schools for 15 years. In the schools here, man, everybody, knows about the street stuff, and that's where, a lot of guys get involved in the street stuff. Okay. But even guys that don't do that, because, a lot of guys who do the street stuff, they drop out, right? Like freshman year, some even before that, they're already dropped out of school. But even of the guys who are not involved in the street stuff, in the public high schools here in Chicago, there's a lot of guys that just are not focused on school. You know what I'm saying? They won't do their homework. They won't study for tests. They'll be hanging out, like just chilling outside the school, like while class is going on. At Sullivan High School, the average number of absences per student per year was 73. That was the average number of days that a student missed class at Sullivan High School. So, I knew students, okay, who had been to Sullivan High School and then been to other high schools like out in the suburbs. And, the habits that they had accumulated at Sullivan, just being around the kids over there, were habits that they had to break when they transferred to other schools and vice versa. Like they had habits from the other schools that they came to Sullivan, and it was like, wow, they got something totally different going on here. Now, if you can get your student into like a magnet school, okay, or like Lane or Whitney Young or Northside Prep or something like that, that would be good. But even at those schools, I would not put that quite on the same level as a good homeschool program because of the simple fact that you still got distractions. You know what I'm saying? You got girls and all that kind of thing. And there's just, in the CPS, man, there's a lot of kids that are just not, they're not focused on school, and it creates a peer pressure environment where somebody who is focused on school and does want to study, and he's going to look like a lame, in the midst of a lot of kids who are just not doing that. Now, like I said, there are some schools where kids are doing that, but you don't want your kid to be around no negative peer pressure, man. And with a homeschool program too, you can kind of control and tailor it specifically to your child, like the environment, the curriculum, all that kind of thing. So not everybody can do that, though. I understand that. This is an option that's for a limited few, but if you have that option, I'm saying I recommend taking it. So he was homeschooled as a teen. He earned an undergraduate degree in mathematics from Stanford before pursuing his PhD. So obviously, that's a very high level achievement. Not everybody's going to do that, but it doesn't mean, that if you feel like you can do it, and this is something that each person needs to evaluate for themselves, definitely don't be shy about going for it, man, because, this is something that's done in steps. Okay, a lot of times stuff like what he accomplished, even in undergrad going to Stanford, it seems, daunting, like from, the bottom of the hill. Okay, but this is something that's done in steps, one day at a time. That's what you got to remember. Okay, and with math, a lot of times it looks very intimidating to kids that are just getting introduced to it or that are struggling with it initially. The problem might be the way that the instructor is teaching it. You know what I'm saying? Math is like a language. It really is. It's like learning a language. When you first hear the language and you don't understand it at all, it's very intimidating. It's like, oh man, I can't understand any of this. I'm not going to be able to learn this. But there's a point, okay, that comes in math where you kind of like get over a hill, just like with learning a language, and that there's like a specific point, even in some cases, a specific day where it really just all clicks, okay, and the sentence structure and all that all comes together, and then from that point on, it's really just a matter of adding vocabulary. With math, it's kind of like the same thing, man, at least in certain branches of math. So I wouldn't feel like, I can't do math if it's not comfortable for me, you know what I'm saying? Because there can come a point, it's pretty much uncomfortable for most everybody at first. Okay, but there comes a certain point then where, if you keep on going at it and going at it and going at it from, a way of learning that's comfortable for you, which might not be the way that your teacher's using, but, you might have to do it on your own time and just study it on your own, look at YouTube videos, look at different people teaching it on various websites. The internet is a big help these days, man. It can become comfortable, okay, even if it's not at first. But anyway, so during his tenure at Indiana, he said that there were no black professors in the field, and said, in fact, for his last 3 years in the program, he was the only black student enrolled. So that's a tough social obstacle, right? To be the only one from a particular demographic and standing out. I understand that's very uncomfortable. Okay, had that feeling plenty of times on the basketball court, right? Now, some people, they have like a personality where they like the challenge of that. You know what I'm saying? Or they like the they see it as an opportunity to be the first or to create that pathway for others. And some people, they get motivated by that. But most people, really, I'm just observing things, like to have other people that look like them, at least, around them in certain situations, and not to stand out. Okay, this is like me on the bus, going down Western, down 46. Standing out and being the only one in the crowd that looks a certain way it's socially an obstacle. You know what I'm saying? Mentally, one has to get past that every day. You know what I'm saying? And he obviously did it in a much more difficult situation than me. But he said that he was the closest the students got to having a black mathematics professor at Indiana University when he was an associate instructor. He said in 2018, and I'm quoting here, he said, "I believe I became the only one in the mathematics PhD program when the last of the other two black students departed from the program." So on campus, he stayed active tutoring students in math and advocating for more diversity in the STEM fields, and he's right about that. That is something that's needed. This is what I was talking about in my video when I was responding to Mayor Lightfoot. People that choose liberal arts programs, okay, that's not as much of a guarantee for like financial success as STEM fields. You know what I'm saying? And there are certain ethnicities, especially Asians, right, and Africans, okay, that like to go into the STEM fields more, and it leads to success. You know what I'm saying? This is something that gets them into the middle class in one generation. No generational wealth. They're starting from zero, but they choose STEM fields. They're into that middle class in one generation. Now if one chooses liberal arts careers and stuff like that, well, that's a much more like convoluted path, into that middle class. It's much tougher in that, you know what I'm saying? But with STEM fields, man, there's high demand in these fields, okay? And it's also easier to, branch off and, become an entrepreneur once one has these skills in some field related to it. So, and he said, doing graduate school has really opened my eyes to the problem of underrepresentation of blacks in the STEM field. So last month, he graduated with his doctorate, becoming the first black graduate to earn a PhD in mathematics from Indiana University. And now he wants to inspire the next wave of mathematicians. So again, being a mathematician, this is something that not a lot of kids are informed about in an early age. And it looks like something that's just like totally that they could never do. But like I said, once you take it little step by little step, okay, and learn it in a way that's accessible to the student, it takes some resource, okay, where that's accessible. Like, you don't necessarily need a teacher in this day and age, okay, to be, like immediately present in the classroom, because like I said, with the internet, it opens up all these opportunities to connect with people all over the world. All you have to do is find somebody anywhere who's teaching it in a way that you can understand it. And it really opens that door, man. But anyway, so he said, doing graduate school has opened my eyes to that. And he said, now it's become a big deal to me. So he said, I think a lot of students don't go into math because it seems daunting to face the specter of isolation. So speaking about, being the only black student in the class, he said, but I can play a part now that I have a degree. I want to create more awareness of theoretical mathematics because I think it made it harder for me growing up because he said I had no idea that there was such a thing as theoretical mathematics. So yeah, I mean, he's right. Obviously, information is highly important. Like, if you don't know that something exists, like, you're not going to be able to, go for it. But he said the Lansing, Michigan native is now planning to continue his work as a mathematics researcher. He's heading to the University of Wisconsin for the next 4 years before taking a postdoctoral position at Princeton's Institute of Advanced Study in 2023. So he hopes his story inspires other students looking to pursue a career in math. And he said, I started off with very little encouragement and very little hope, and it never seemed like it was going to happen until 4 or 5 months ago when I had job offers. So just to be striving in the midst of so much discouragement, he said, I don't think anything else I do in life will compare. So shout out to this guy, man, because, it is it is something that, like, even as a non-black teacher, talking to students, encouraging them to go into this or that field, if there's nobody that looks like them in that field, that's tough advice to give, right? Because you're basically asking them to enter a situation of extreme discomfort for them socially, and that's so the social thing is part of it all through college. But shout out to the kids who are able to do it. Now he said that there were several other students in there, several other black students initially that had left the program. He didn't say why. I don't know, what the reasons were behind that. But shout out to him for finishing. And math is obviously. I'm not going to pretend like there is not a certain degree of difficulty that not everybody can overcome in math. It is a field that requires a certain level of natural intellectual ability. I'm saying that he obviously had, but that not everybody in the population has. So one needs to be honest with oneself and evaluate it. Probably when one is at the I would say early undergraduate level. Try it a little bit. Freshman year, take some classes. I think would be a good idea, and but really go at it. I'm saying don't just go at it halfway, but like really give it a good effort. And if you feel like it's something that you can do, I would choose it as a what I would call a backup plan. What I'm saying? A lot of people are much more passionate about like liberal arts fields and things like that, but those should not be like the frontline plan. Something in the STEM field should be something that one attains anyways, just as a backup career in case the liberal arts stuff doesn't work out. Okay, a lot of people, like I said, they like that better, but employment in those fields is not always as guaranteed as it is in STEM. Okay, and the farther you go along in the STEM, you might actually find that you like that better too. Okay, so again, we're not just talking about math; we're talking about all STEM fields, man. But shout out to him for opening that door, at least socially. I mean, the door was open, but socially opening the door. That's a big step. It's your boy Winnie C. Report. I'm out.